Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Booksplosion Book of the Month for the month of February, our live show. Today we are discussing Lore by Alexandra Bracken in partnership with Disney Book Group. This was our book of the month. I'm Jesse.
I'm Christine. I'm Kat.
And we're Booksplosion. I just awkwardly did that little intro.
I'm Kat. Well, because
you're Kat.
I was debating whether or not I should correct Jesse because he said it was our February book of the month. I'm like, you're a little ahead of yourself there.
This is why I should not be hosting. It's our January Booksplosion book of the month. But we do have... We do have a February Booksplosion book of the month, which I don't personally have on hand, but if do either of you have it on hand?
I have it on hand.
Okay.
I have it somewhere.
This is not the Jess show.
By Anna Carey. This comes out on February 2nd, I believe.
Yes.
I can say a little bit about it. Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, I don't know the blurb down. I just know it has something to do with the 90s, so I'm excited.
Our main character is a teenager in 1998. So some people might consider this book historical, which kind of just punches me in the face.
I don't want to talk about that.
So it's about a normal, everyday teenager, 1998. She's dealing with like a crush on her childhood best friend, a new crush on her friend, and controlling parents and normal teenage things. But then one day, this mysterious, sleek black object with an apple symbol falls out of her friend's backpack. And she's like, what's up with that? What's going on here? And it spirals into this mystery of her trying to figure out, like, it starts raising suspicions, and so she starts investigating things around her.
Yes.
That was a spoiler, I feel like.
Anyway, that is going to be our February book.
A spoiler might be if I compared it to a movie that it gives me vibes for, but I don't want to say which movie.
Put me back in here.
I love having control.
Anyways, this is not the Jess Show February book of the month. Maybe you'll join us for that one too.
Yeah. We don't have a live show date set yet, but we will be posting about that on our socials. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, @Booksplosion. We also do a Dear Booksplosion episode every month, which is just like our chit chat kind of live stream that we do. We don't have a date for that yet either, but we will also tweet that out, I promise. But today we are talking about Lore by Alexandra Bracken. Does anybody want to give a breakdown of the description before we get into our thoughts?
I can do it.
Okay.
Lore takes place in a world where every 7 years there's something called the Agon, and the 9 original gods are being punished by Zeus, and they're forced to walk mortal bodies for those 7 days. And during those 7 days, the descendants of the ancient bloodlines of the old Greek heroes, they try to kill the gods while they're in mortal form, because if they kill them when they're during these 7 days, then they get that god's power and immortality, which is cray cray. And the gods, there's only a few original gods left because this has been going on for a long time. And Athena is one of those original gods left, and she ends up on the doorstep of Lore, who is our lead character, who is the descendant of Perseus, the Perseus bloodline. And she makes a deal with her to defend, like, make sure no one murders Athena. And Athena makes a deal with Lore to help her get revenge for something that happened to her family. And they bind their fates together. So if one dies, the other dies too. And they have 7 days, and there's romance. And lots of adventure and thrilling shit. It's very, it was a very entertaining, fun read packed with Greek mythology And if you've read Percy Jackson, like it's funny seeing how things translate in like this world, which is like much, you know, kind of more sophisticated, older crowd, a way to look at it, and then like the fun, kind of goofy way you see it in Percy. But like you do see stuff like I knew what stuff was because like I'm like, oh, Percy has that. Like Percy defeats Medusa, and like that's why the Medusa head is Perseus. It's like very fun to have that line in your brain while you're reading.
Yeah, it is much darker. Like Percy Jackson, like,
For sure.
lighthearted version of the gods, and this book was a lot bloodier than I anticipated going into.
Sure.
There's a lot of murder.
Violence.
Before we give our non-spoiler thoughts, I just wanted to mention that we will be taking your questions throughout the live show. So if you have anything that you want us to discuss, just drop it in the chat. But Kat, do you want to kick off with your non-spoilery thoughts on lore?
Sure. I kind of, Christine was saying at the end of her little like description synopsis, this was just a book that was like just had so much adventure and was just super fun. I really enjoyed the pacing of it. Like it took me a little bit to get grounded in the world because you know, there's so many gods and goddesses and the Agon and like all the stuff that was going on. So it took me a little bit to like feel like I had a good understanding of like the workings of this world. But once I did, I was just flying through this. Like at one point I needed to take a break for dinner and I couldn't because every chapter ended on like a moment where I was like, oh dang, now I have to keep reading to see what happens next. Like I couldn't stop.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil. I really want to talk about the ends of some chapters.
I was like, okay, one more chapter.
There's
chapter.
That's the end of what the hell just happened. That didn't just happen.
But yeah, I really liked it. I want to talk more about specific aspects that I liked, but I feel like it borders on spoilery things.
Yeah, I think a lot of it.
For a little bit.
I don't know why, like it was deemed spoilery that like the ancient bloodlines were the bloodlines of heroes. I feel like that kept being, it was switched. Like when I wrote it, they didn't want us to say that in like our blurbs. It was like switched from heroes to just ancient bloodlines. But I feel like that makes more sense. Like you're kind of confused with like what ancient bloodlines, but it's when you know it's the ancient bloodlines of heroes. It's like, oh, cool. Anyway, spoiler.
Christine, what are your thoughts?
Thoughts. I felt like I already gave them.
You kind of did at the end of your little.
I had a lot of fun. Like Kat said, like it takes a second to feel like you have your footing in the world and stuff, but once you do, you're just soaring through. And like Alex is throwing all sorts of shit at you the whole time. We're like, oh man. And I really like it's told in a way where we go back and forth between Lore's past, the last Agon, and the present. And I really like the way she did that. It flowed really nicely and provided some nice depth along the way and some nice little like snippets of information that we wouldn't have gotten as powerfully otherwise. Yeah, she did a really good job with it. I'm really happy that it was like a standalone. I really like the sense of like closure you get at the end. Yeah, it was great. I love the love interest, Castor. I could do with a little bit more romance. Like I wanted like a night together. Like,
I literally had that thought when I was reading this. I was like, I bet Christine would want a little bit more romance. There's enough to like hold her off, but like she needs a little bit more.
I just wanted like a little more, a little like one night.
No, I could have gone with a little more too, especially because it doesn't like their ages are made kind of. Is there an echo?
No.
I feel like it was feeding back on me. Their ages are a little bit vague.
I know. No, he's 18 and he's
she's 18. But like in the beginning, it seems a little bit vague. But
that's because they have to make it vague in the beginning.
Yeah. That means 7 years ago, at the previous Agon, the last time that Lore really saw Castor and like hung out with him, because at the beginning of the book she hasn't seen him in 7 years. So they were like 11 and 12. And so I would have just liked it if they were, like, I feel like they could have been aged up in this book.
Well, I think you had to age it down probably.
No, but that's a publishing thing that I am mad about.
I know.
Forever mad about it.
Yeah, forever annoyed.
The industry.
But like you do have sorry, we're just
I would have liked it more if they were like 14 and 15 the first Agon, and then like 21, 22 this time around. I don't feel like much would have changed.
Yeah, but they do grow up together. So, and like when you form like those sort of bonds for so long growing up, and like they had a really strong bond.
Yeah, but like does that necessarily lead to romance when you're 11?
I mean, when you're 11, you're like, oh, I have a crush on that person, and like you think that all the time. So I mean, that's probably what was going on. But I was just gonna say something. Fudge, damn it! Something about something. And I don't know. In the beginning, though, I just remember being like, oh, I see how she's not mentioning how old she is, but like, she's definitely out of high school.
Right.
Damn it, I had some point with their age, but I forgot now. So.
Maybe it'll come back to you.
Yeah. But something with Castor, whatever, let's move on. Jesse, what were your thoughts?
My thoughts. So I really enjoyed it. I ended up loving it. I've had like very similar feelings to you guys. Like there is like some bit of world building at the beginning that you have to get through, but once you get through it, like you just fly through it. It's those like cliffhangers at the end of each chapter that just like suck you in. But I loved all the characters. I loved Miles as a side character. He was fantastic. And Van, I loved Athena too. Like, I'm not going to go into details, but even though like, you know, things happen there, I loved reading about her character. And I would love to see this book through the eyes of like Athena or Wrath even. Like, I feel like it'd just be really interesting to kind of see their side of the story. But yeah, I loved it. It almost felt to me like, obviously there are Percy Jackson vibes because of like, you know, the Greek mythology and stuff. But like, I also got like a weirdly like City of Bones vibe too, like a mixture of City of Bones.
It's like the gang is very City of Bones. Like you've got the characters.
Yeah, even though it's like teenage perspectives, but.
In addition to those two like bookish comparisons, I also kind of got Hunger Games vibes, where like like the arena, because it kind of felt like that with like people having alliances and like you could be attacked at any moment, anywhere.
Yeah.
This is also. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead. I keep wanting to say something spoilery. Go ahead.
We're almost there, Christine. Hang in there. I also just wanted to say that it was so like interesting reading this because like we've all read a majority of Alexandra Bracken's books, and so like it just felt like she leveled up in this book. Like I don't know if you guys felt that way, but I was just like, wow, like her world building is like she's already great at world building, but she's just like a step further. I felt like, and it just was like really cool to see that growth while reading this book. So that was my final thought. So yeah.
I feel like she was wanting to write something like this with different family bloodlines when she wrote Passenger, because it reminded that aspect of it reminded me. Passenger has those different tribes of people who kind of control the timeline and stuff that are different families that have kind of taken over like mob bosses of time. And this is kind of very like similar, except more expanded and like grounded in mythology, which makes it even more fascinating. But it's the same sort of thing with like the different families and like the kind of like tribes they create.
Yeah.
And I really loved like just the feminist take on mythology you kind of get in here, like because you never, I've never been like forced to look at it like that. No one's ever pointed it out when you're reading these stories, and then I'm like, oh yeah. It's like when you first hear that, when someone first points out to you that like in the Bible, like women are treated really shit, and then like you're like, oh yeah, like you're just taking it at face value because from so young people are telling you the stories. And it's like the Greek mythology when they're just like talking about Arachne, and I'm like, oh yeah, like.
We're so used to it being one way that like when we see another, we're like, oh my god.
Yeah, kind of pivot.
And especially when they're raised in this world where they're so entrenched in it to the point where, like, girls who are trained to be warriors, trained to be hunters, they aren't allowed to kill the gods themselves. Like, they're allowed to hunt, but they have to, like, capture the god and bring them to a man in their family so that the man can kill the god and ascend. And it's just...
that's like one of my favorite aspects of the story, because then you start to rethink all sorts of different Greek mythology things, and it's like, oh yeah, what the hell? But it brings me around to something that I wanted to talk about that's kind of spoilery.
Okay, we're gonna be jumping into spoilers now. So if you have not read lore, go read it, and then come back and watch the rest of the discussion. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of a spoiler, but like, okay, Tidebringer is kind of like the face of that whole aspect of the way that they think about how, like, women can't take take a god's powers, and she does it, and she brings, like, shame to her family. Like, I really wanted to dig into that a little bit more. Like, we meet Tidebringer, and she's, like, not bad, and they formed her into this villain because she is a woman who took the power of Poseidon. And I just, that's the one aspect of this that I was like, what? She just died. Like, we just found her. Like, we can't discuss this further. I was waiting for them to reunite this whole time because she feels like the only, like, familial tie she has to this world, because everyone is dead. And then she finds her, and they talk for like a second, and then she's murdered. And I was like, excuse me.
I didn't think too much about that in the moment, but, like, upon reflection, like, I would have liked to see more exploration into Tidebringer in that aspect, especially with the remaining ancestor.
How great would it have been if they had, like, a great heart-to-heart and then murder? Like, give them an hour together and then kill her. Like, make her a serious, like, a serious black. Like that's what she kind of is. She's like this person connected to them, but, like, she feels like they're a villain, and then you meet her and she's not, and it's like, oh wow, you're my new mom-ish character, and then it's like, then they kill her, and then it hurts. Sorry, I just went really deep into, like,
no, you're good. You really went into a deep question right off the bat.
One of my aspects, sort of the maybe it's a little bit feminist, but also just the sort of, like, women are underestimated angle, is the scene with Athena at the end with Wrath. How, like, Wrath is totally willing to, like, believe her being, like, subservient to him because that's what he thinks women are supposed to do, and, like, that's how he thinks it's supposed to be. And, like, no, she knows her place, and it's like, wow, you're gonna die because of that.
Before we move forward, can I just address, like, Victoria said, I thought that they hated Tidebringer because she killed her line, but wasn't it kind of like they all hated her, and I forget what happened exactly.
Did she kill her line, or did she ascended and she wasn't supposed to?
Yeah, wasn't she shunned? And, like, I can't remember exactly because it's right in the beginning that we learn all this stuff. But also, like, there's that whole thing about how nothing you learn is necessarily true because they probably painted her in a more negative light and made her into the villain because she did this thing that they believe is wrong. So I feel like it's kind of murky in that, with that whole theme that runs through the book. But I guess we'd have to reread the beginning because that's when you're just getting into it. You're trying to, like, remember all these little things, and then, like, we really get into it.
All right.
Yeah, a different bloodline killed them because she ascended. Okay, sorry. So, Kat.
Your favorite aspect of the... Kat was about to say something before.
Oh, no, I was talking about how Wrath's assumptions about Athena were ultimately his downfall.
Yeah. Then even underestimating lore.
Yeah.
Oh, how terrible was that scene we had to watch with, like, her dad brought her to that restaurant where he was, and he's like, I will wait till she is 12 to wed her and wait for her first bleeding to take her. It's like they're living in the Game of Thrones world in 2020. Okay, let's talk about these fucking cliffhangers. Am I allowed to say the F word?
I don't know. You put it a lot, so I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure it's fine. So
yeah,
okay.
Which cliffhanger like rocked your world the most?
So many deaths, and I was like believing everyone. My mom just said no.
You're what?
My mom just typed no, probably to my like, am I allowed to say
that? You're grounded.
Okay, anyway, I was saying the death. Every single death.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my, I thought Laura was gonna die. I thought like when Castor died, I was like, did that just happen? Rewind.
I felt, yeah, that one was the one that affected me the most with Castor. I was like, but then it was just like, right after that, I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh man.
I was like on the edge because I expected anyone to die at any time. Like I thought.
The thing is, when it's not a series, like you can kill anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, the whole time I was like, oh my god, Miles is gonna die. Miles is gonna die.
I was surprised he didn't. Like I thought that he would at least be the one to die. Like I thought, like okay.
I think they wanted to give him a happy ending because he was like the person that usually dies. But also. He's also, I thought that he was either going to die or he was going to end up being a god. It ended up being Gil. I thought he was going to be like a god that was watching over her secretly the whole time. And then he was still just a mortal at the end. And I just was so surprised because I thought he was going to be like a trickster or something.
Which, speaking of Gil, did you guys see that at all? Or no?
I saw something like that because she was like weirdly fixated on her necklace in the beginning, and also it was a feather, which is like the sign of Hermes. So like I thought that something was up with the necklace. Like if he wasn't necessarily a god, like he was at least involved in some way, or like gave her that necklace as protection or something like that. But I was still surprised by how it ended up playing out, and also his reasoning for why he wanted to protect her. Like, because when Laura first finds out about Gil as Hermes, she kind of assumes that he's just another god using her, trying to get the shield. But that wasn't exactly it. He felt guilty because he was the one who kind of not unintentionally got her whole family murdered.
Right.
I thought, I was suspicious in the beginning because she got the whole brownstone. I was like, this random person you caretakered for gave you their whole brownstone sort of thing. But then because of Miles, I think is what made me less suspicious, because like there's also another random roommate living with her. And that really worked to his advantage, because that's why she wasn't as suspicious either, I feel like, because there was another person there with her.
And also that Gil faked his death. He died like before the start of the book, where he faked his death before he actually died at the start of the Agon. But yeah, because he was like already dead before the Agon started, it seemed like he wasn't connected at all. But like he was.
What did you think, Justin?
I didn't pay attention to it at all. I was actually like sus of Miles. I was like, oh, something's up with Miles. Like it's gonna turn around and like he's gonna be a bad guy or something. But no, no surprise there. My theory's off.
Like he was so into doing stuff. He was so into like doing stuff, and I was just like, this is suspicious, because like they could kill you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I did like. See, I thought for a while, I was like, all these mom calls are fake to make people think that he has a mom waiting, but actually he's going to turn on them. But then when it went, I was like, oh, that was fun. Then his mom just came. But okay, let's talk about Athena.
Well, how did you feel about Lore binding herself with her in the first place? Like,
Well,
were you like, oh, that's the idea,
like,
don't do it, or were you like, that's fine?
Yeah, the thing is we don't know the weight. So there's a lot of things that like we don't know the weight of in the beginning, so we don't feel it. Like if we had known about Castor being dead for 7 years and like how their relationship, how tight they were, seeing him in the beginning would have been like, oh shit, like this is a big deal. It's Castor. Holy crap, he's dead. But since it was just a new stranger that we were hearing about, it wasn't the same. And then it was the same thing when she bound herself to Athena. It was like, why do you feel so strongly? And she's just like, we learned so much at once about her parents being murdered by this person, and she wants to kill them, but we learn it right in that moment. So you don't really feel the urgency of why is she doing this. I
also feel like the synopsis was a little bit misleading in this way because it painted Laura as wanting out and wanting nothing to do with the Agon. But how we actually see it is like she might tell herself like she wants out, she wants to be done with it. Like even after her died, she still trained for 4 more years with Iroh and that family, and she has so much anger and like she wants Wrath super dead. So like if that was like more played up, then I could have understood her desperation of binding with Athena earlier on better. Because at that moment, it's like, you don't want anything to do with the gods. Like, why are you binding your fate to this god that's about to die? And it's going to be a big target for the next 7 days. Like, if we had a better understanding of, like, her fire and her anger in that moment, it would have added a little bit better for me, I feel.
It's almost like the persona she was trying to lead was the one that was like respecting her parents and Castor's sort of point of view. Like she doesn't want to be violent because of him in that way. She doesn't want to kill anybody, but also her parents wanted to leave, so she doesn't want to be a part of it. She's like projecting that, but really she has all this anger and she wants to kill everyone, and she feels like this is what she's meant to do. And when Athena like backs her on that, that's when she really wins her trust. And she realizes that too. But that was a cool kind of flip around, like reverse psychology, sort of a thing that she did to her. But yeah, so did Athena win you over? Because I know Athena, she's she's Annabeth's mom, and I know her different. And I was like, I wanted her to be redeemed almost. I didn't want her to be like this cold-hearted, mean person we see in the beginning.
Yeah, I think Athena is like probably the most interesting character in the book because of that. Because like even though she does all these like awful things, she feels so justified in her own way. And like we also have to remember that she's not immortal. She was never one of the hunters who like ascended into godhood. Like she's the original Athena. Like she's like, on a different level than like the rest of the humans. So like you kind of you understand her even if you don't necessarily are willing to forgive her for what she did, because she does do some evil things. Like she killed Laura's family, not just killed them, she tortured them.
It's a big spoiler.
We're firmly in the spoiler section.
Yeah, we're in it.
And she manipulated Laura this entire time, like in such subtle ways, like driving her apart from other people and like feeding her anger and impulsiveness when that's something that like Laura needed to learn how to like restrain and like use in a better way. So I think she's an interesting, super fascinating character. I don't know how I feel about her little bit of like, is it redemption at the end? Like, does she die, or is that how the gods get out of their punishment and like get to ascend to the godly realm? Like, did Apollo go to like the godly realm where Zeus is? Like, did he get to ascend? I
understood it that like they ascended, like they have to sacrifice their power to actually leave this hell. I really liked when Artemis was like, "This is our Tartarus." Like,
yeah,
it is like they're just stuck here until they figure out how to leave, and
they have to believe that they are dying and sacrificing. If they think like, "Oh, this is how I get out of hell," like it wouldn't work probably.
Yeah, and I like that. Like Lore thinks she's figured it out. She thinks that she has to destroy the Aegis. But like really she has to sacrifice herself to get out of it. And I think she did redeem herself a little bit in that moment. Like not completely, obviously. She like fucking horrible. But like she saved Lore and she sacrificed herself to do it and save the city. And like she's not completely dark, which makes her a fascinating character to delve into. Because I liked that scene on the roof where they like bonded, and to know it's all like, fake. It's like, damn it. Damn it.
Layers of manipulation, right down to the fact that like, oh, by the way, we're not really bound together. Like, you think I would bind my fate to a mortal?
Oh, yeah. The second she said, like, we knew she was bad, I was like, oh no, she was all a lie.
Did you guys have any theories about the Aegis? Is that how you say it? Aegis?
I think it's the Aegis. That's what they said in the audiobook.
Okay. Did you have any theories about the Aegis and like where it was? Did you suspect that Lore had it all along, or were you just...
I thought Lore had it. She kept referencing it like, oh, I don't want them to get it, so...
Yeah, there were like little implications that she knew where it was, but because she never brought it up and she never used it, it was like, where is it? Like there was a little bit of mystery of that. I liked how she hid it in the last place they would ever look, which is like
a garbage bag in the same place.
Like behind where it was originally stored, one of the Cadmos places. I thought that was clever. I enjoyed that.
I felt so bad for like little Lore because she accomplished such a big task and she thought she was gonna save everything, and then like halfway through she's like, wait a minute, I messed up. And it was like she didn't even get to have the glory of like bringing it home before she realized it, and then she was late, too little, too late, and everything sucks.
This person says they wanted an epilogue. Were you okay with there not being an epilogue? Did you have enough closure, or did you want more?
The last chapter is a little bit of an epilogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had that feeling. It wasn't specifically titled epilogue, but it was a nice...
It wasn't really wrap up until the end, because all throughout the last chapter, the epilogue feeling things, there's still a mystery of like, but what's going to happen to them? Like, is the Agon over? Or is it not over? Like, we don't know that until the very, very end, where Castor and Lore lose their abilities, and it's like, okay, the Agon is over for good. I don't know. I could have done with a little bit, just a glimpse of like how this society is going to move forward, because like now there is no Agon. There are no more gods and goddesses walking among us. Like, what do the hunters and families do with themselves now?
Oh, I just remembered another thing. So did you guys think that Castor was Apollo? Because I was like, Castor's Apollo from like the very second that Apollo wasn't around. And then like it happened so quick in the beginning that it was real that it was Apollo. I was like, oh man, I thought this was gonna be a big reveal.
I did not know that, because one of the synopsises I read straight up said that he was Apollo. So like I was just waiting for that.
Wow, spoilers again.
That could have been a big thing, a big reveal. I actually didn't suspect it, so. But I don't pick up on things at all. I'm just like, huh? I don't see anything. So.
Just enjoying the ride.
Yeah, truly.
I did kind of guess right away that Castor hadn't like gone out and hunted and like killed Apollo that way. Like, I didn't know exactly that he wasn't going to remember it, but I did kind of have the inkling from the beginning that, like, oh, Apollo let you kill him. Like, Apollo, it was a voluntary.
Yeah, as soon as he said that he didn't remember, I was like, okay, well, he was dying and he or something, you know, like. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I really liked that. Also, I felt like I knew Apollo, and I was like, Apollo was helping him out. I just like the gods in Percy Jackson are so interesting and also human in so many ways. So it's like I think we know their human parts, and I'm just like, the in this, I'm like, well, they have that human part, and I know it's good. And it will help.
Percy
Except with
Jackson.
Raph, because Aries, and Aries is a big douche always.
Did you have a favorite moment or scene at all that you would like to mention?
I like the part when the like millionth time that Laura's gonna die, and she dies, but she doesn't die when Athena kills her. Like, that part was so intense. And then I like when Castor showed up and like healed her, and then they were together for a little bit. That was the only time they got together where they were like being all almost romantic.
I liked a lot of our flashbacks. I liked seeing little Laura and Castor when they were 10 years old and like training together. I liked that like establishment of their relationship and how close they were.
Yeah.
I also liked all the scenes where the crew were all together. Like one scene that stands out is when Lore brings Van and Castor back to the brownstone where Athena and Miles are.
Yeah.
And we have like that first meeting them all together.
Oh God.
That was fun.
The other part where he's like, yeah, you're gonna need a new mop and a new rod in your closet.
Oh my God.
So 3 different things.
I love that little scene where like Miles is looking up stuff on Wikipedia. He's a research over here.
You know, the part was super creepy, that like first adventure into like the house of, is it Achilles, the house that they're that Castor is from, when she goes to their ceremony and like they have all these little kids to present to him. Oh, I hate that guy. I'm glad he died really soon. Philip, I think his name was. Terrible dude.
Oh, we haven't touched on Artemis. We can do this one. How did you feel about Artemis' death and her as a character?
Yeah, that was abrupt. It was a very Hunger Games death.
Very quick.
It was in that moment that you're kind of second guessing Athena, like,
yeah,
you don't care.
That line where Artemis was like, "You betrayed me," and Laura even had the moment where she thinks like, "Betrayal? Like what betrayal? Like what did this do? What is she talking about?" And Athena's like, "She's out of her mind. Don't find her." I thought she was an interesting character, and also it was very sad because like she's one of the few remaining old gods, and her twin brother, who like she was so close to, has died. She had an understanding of what had happened to him, because like she deserved to know. Like she lived the last 7 years thinking that like someone brutally murdered Apollo, and not that Apollo chose to sacrifice himself and to die and like leave the Agon that way. So it's tragic that she didn't get any kind of closure or anything out of her story. But her death was, like you guys said, one of those sudden ones that like adds to the whole thing of like anyone can die at any time. Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Evelyn in the chat said flashbacks from Ira would have been nice. I feel like Alex probably wrote some stuff with them together and had to cut it, like because this book was already long and she wanted it to be standalone, because you could feel that there was more with them, but we only got like her. Was it her dad or her brother who tried to?
It wasn't her dad. It was like a random male cousin, just a random family member.
Yeah, I got like caught up with like who was doing this to her in that moment. I was like, but her dad was Heartbringer, whatever his name was.
I can't remember either.
Yeah, do we want to do our like
pairings
for the Taylor?
All right. So we decided that we were going to pair the characters with Taylor Swift songs, because so we have to incorporate Taylor Swift in some way. Do we want to start with Lore.
Sure. Who wants to start?
I'll do one of mine. You guys might have this one as well. The man.
Yeah, I have that one.
Oh, that's a good one. I don't have that one. I didn't get to look at Lover. I was looking through all of them, and I didn't make it all the way through.
I have two other ones for Lore. I have Out of the Woods, which I know that that's one is more about like getting out of like
Out of the Agon,
but like kind of out of the Agon is kind of what I was thinking out of that sticky situation. And then I also have Clean because I thought that would be like a nice like.
That is a good one. There's just like so many good ones.
I have another one I had for Lore was I Did Something Bad.
she
I have
does.
that for another character.
I have that too. For Lore, I have Gold Rush because I feel like she almost feels that way about the Agon and about Castor. She's like really hesitant to jump in, and with the Agon, she like doesn't want to, but she does want to. And then like she gets all this stuff out of it. Like all the people she loves, she's gotten because of the world that she lives in. So and then I have Better Than Revenge for Lore.
That's a good one, actually.
And Bad Blood for Lore.
I didn't think about that one. That one's great too.
Lore and Wrath.
Yeah.
I have Bad Blood for Athena.
Yeah, well, like the moment with Athena and Lore, it's like, oh shit, now we got this is going down. And also, look what you made me do for that moment where she has to like come and like confront him and then like take the powers, even though she doesn't want to. Take Athena's powers. Yeah, those are my Lore ones.
Should we do Athena next?
Or yeah, sure.
And for Athena, the only one I had was Bad Blood.
Bad Blood. Nice. That's a solid one though.
I just felt it was very.
I have that too. It's her. It's her and Lore.
Yeah.
I have Did Something Bad because I feel like that one fits her pretty well.
It does.
I have The Man because I feel like that one also kind of fits her a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Look What You Made Me Do.
Yeah, I can see.
They all really fit her.
Yeah.
Athena has a lot of Reputation vibes.
Yeah, that's really. I was like Reputation.
Yeah. I have Teardrops on My Guitar for Athena.
What? Wait, explain.
Oh, yeah, because of her daddy issues, Zeus is the reason for the teardrops.
I can see that.
Okay.
I won't roast you.
Like everything she does is kind of fueled by her like want for her dad to respect her again and like be back in his good graces. And I have Long Live as her like looking back at the time when like all of her siblings were together up in Olympus. Like she like when she's talking to Athena and she's like, remember what it was like when we were up there? It's like, long live all the towns we knew at the time of our life.
We're gonna get a copyright strike. Don't sing it. You sound just like Taylor.
And also, oh wait, no, that's all I had for her. Okay, yeah.
Nice. Castor, I guess.
Okay, for Castor, I have two songs that was first drawn because of their titles. And then I like re-looked at their lyrics and I was like, okay, these actually fit kind of nicely. So the first one for Castor is The Archer because, you know, he's a Apollo.
Nice.
Then it works. And then I also put him as False God.
Nice. Nice. I'm into it. I have Treacherous for Castor. Because in my mind, it kind of relates to like his upbringing. Like he had like a very treacherous situation, like growing up and stuff. So, yeah, that's what I was thinking with that one.
Nice. For him, I have Holy Ground because it's like this city for him and Lore, like had this whole wet city all to ourselves sort of vibe. And they're kind of looking back on when they met and like when they trained together. And then I have haunted because it's like you and I walk a fragile line of like friendship, but they crossed it. Dun 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 dun. Like when that moment when Laura is like, did I just ruin everything with that kiss? It was just like so impulsive. Like, is everything gonna be different now? Oh my god. And I also had Fearless for them.
Nice.
But yeah, those are my Castor ones. I love Castor, and I really wanted more of him. I feel like we don't get enough of him almost. He's like in and out, but like there's definitely more to him than we get to see.
Yeah, I almost wish that this book, it would have made it longer and like probably unwieldy, but that we had gotten multiple perspectives. Like you guys mentioned earlier about like seeing it from like Wrath or Athena's, seeing like scenes from their points of view. Also, when it comes to like Miles and Van, I really like their dynamic and their relationship. But it would have been nice to like feel more grounded in it because like we really only get to see like Lore kind of overhearing like one like kind of flirty conversation between them, and like I just would have liked to like follow them more along their journey together.
I knew it was going to happen though. Like from the beginning, you're like, oh, this is
Miles, I guess, next.
Sure.
I had a hard time with Miles. Finding time for Miles. I did Invisible String. I'm not super confident in it, but there's this line that says, "Time, curious time, gave me no compasses, gave me no signs." So I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of like his relationship with Laura. Like he had no idea what was going on. Like she had like a whole other life. So that's kind of what's going on.
I see it.
For me, this is one that I feel is almost like the book in a little bit of the book in general, but also Miles. I did Welcome to New York. That's like the city of New York is like almost a character in this book. We really feel like we're in New York with all the references, and like I just felt like Miles was a very like grounding New York presence for Lore, who's like outside of the world of the gods and hunters and everything.
Yeah. For Miles, I have 3. It's nice to have a friend.
My favorite.
Yeah, I feel like they're very like Lore's very much like he's her only close friend. Like it's really nice to have like a normal, grounded friend. And it feels the same way about her. I feel like. And then I have New Year's Day because I feel like he really has that vibe where like, I want to be here with you still, no matter what crap we have to go through. Like we're BFFs and I'm going to be here for you. Like I'll be there in the morning to clean up with you. He is there to clean up with Athena. And then I have, this is why we can't have nice. Because there's so many moments where like, excuse me, that's Mrs. like whoever's thing in the laundromat and like stuff breaks around him. And he's like, the plants. He's like, excuse me, this is why we can't plants. You break on plants. Yeah, I thought that was very Miles.
Okay, Van, I guess.
Yeah, I went for Van.
I'm not confident in mine for Van. I'll just say mine. I have Mirror Ball for him. I don't really know like my explanation for it, but it just like the vibes, I guess. And then I also have Willow, but I have no explanations. So
I like that for Willow and Miles.
Yeah.
I mean, for Van and Miles.
I couldn't come up with any for Van.
I wanted more from Van in this book too. That's another character that I wanted a little bit more from. So I really enjoyed like the things that we did get.
Miles was like the Simon for this crew. He was the grounding, like funny guy who is like making, and he can negotiate. He's like very good with people too. He's very personable and he knows how to get someone to be calm and like talk to you about things that maybe they don't want to talk about.
Right.
Van, I have Invisible because I feel like he feels like that in Castor's presence all growing up, and like he's the only friend he has, but he also kind of has a crush on him. And it's kind of that like Jace Alec vibe that you get. Like they grew up together, and he has these like feelings from when they were younger that don't necessarily translate the same way now, but it's there, like haunting him with Lore.
See, I didn't get the vibe that he had a crush on him. Like There's that conversation he has with Miles, but he denies it, and I believed him.
Oh, I thought he was just being like, no, and then like that's why Miles talked about like trying to disarm him in a way, like being like, it's fine. I had crushes on like the quarterback.
Yeah, I took it as face value of like he cares about him, he's his friend, and he feels a little jealous of like his friendship with Lore, but not because of a romantic feelings way.
Yeah, I think it could swing either way there.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't spend enough time with him.
Yeah, we didn't get to know him as much.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, for wrap, our final one.
Tim, I did this is why we can't have nice things.
That's what I did too. That's the only one that I could think of.
I have, this is a really dark, terrible one, but like him talking to Lore saying end game, like I want to be your end.
What an interesting way to twist that one.
And then I have don't blame me because he's like in love with power and he's like, don't blame me, I was in
I
love.
almost put that one down as well, but I wasn't sure.
And then I don't know what I wrote here. It looks like nothing. Oh, the moment I knew. I don't remember what my reasoning was for that.
There must have been reasoning there.
There must have been some weird like, pulling reason. But maybe like, well, I don't think this was my original reason, but could be a reason like the moment that he knew it wasn't gonna work out between him and Lore when she stole the Aegeus from them the night after. And
maybe from his perspective to Lore, I knew you were trouble.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. There's a lot that you can twist there and make a fun story with Taylor's song.
Yes.
Yeah. That was fun. I like that
That
game.
was fun. I like that. I like doing that. All right.
Well, I mean, there's more we could talk about. Does anyone have any questions that you want us to specifically tackle?
I like this one. Somebody said Van makes me think of This Is Me Trying.
Oh, yeah.
One for Miles.
Were you guys suspicious of Van at any point? Because I was suspicious of him at first because he seemed like he could be working for the other team because he was like a spy almost for them. You know, he could have been a double crosser.
I wasn't super suspicious, but I could see where you would be.
Yeah, I was suspicious of everyone at the beginning. I was like,
I had like vague suspicions, but nothing too grounding. And like, it seemed like he was so fiercely loyal to Castor that like my suspicions for him evaporated pretty quickly.
Because Lore at the beginning was like, just because he trusts him doesn't mean I trust him. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was your favorite character? Asks Juliana.
Castor was my favorite. Or Apollo.
Yeah, I want to say like for the character that like I liked the most is maybe Castor or Miles, but I think Athena is the most interesting character. Because she's just fascinating.
I also really liked Gil.
Yeah. Like, I feel like we didn't spend enough time with him. Like the most time we spent with him was when she was dead, and she had like flashback / memory of him.
Yeah, but like just the way she remembered him, kind of like a grandparent, was like very nice and like comforting.
Yeah, I think my favorite character was Miles because he was just like he brought in some of like the comedic relief a little bit. But I also am with Kat in that I really loved Athena. Like I just loved, like, I don't know, she just was so great in this book. Like definitely a shining character, even though she was the worst.
Yeah.
But also she saved the day.
Yeah, she's interesting because it was still like selfishly motivated. Like she's a very morally gray character in that like she does nice things. Like when the drone explosion went off, like she was helping people and saving people. That wasn't like a selfishly motivated thing. But I don't know. She's just interesting. There's a lot we could unpack with her
I
character.
think Tidebringer is also very interesting for my hair characters.
By the way,
Yeah.
did you see my friend back here?
Oh, please.
I did a video recreation of Lore.
Oh my god!
I
You got
can't
a
believe,
birthday present in the mail.
I can't believe you bought a mannequin head for that.
Listen.
Oh my
Dedicated,
God.
okay.
That's so creepy.
It is very creepy.
Yeah. Let's see. Should we do one more question or something?
How about, I just saw a good one. What did you think about Van's backstory with his hand and everything? Is that good?
Oh, yeah, very Star Wars. Was that a Star Wars reference? I feel like it was because
Probably. It's Alexandra Bracken.
I forget what exactly happened to his hand.
Well, Lore doesn't know exactly if it was like she's
Oh,
if
he did it on purpose.
like, yeah, if he did it on purpose or if someone did it to him. But yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for our Booksplosion live show for Lore. We had a great time discussing this. Thanks again to Disney Book Group for partnering up with us this month. Next month, we are reading This Is Not the Jess Show. It drops on Tuesday, February 2nd. So pick it up and join us next month. We're really excited about that as well. And yeah, I'm Jesse.
I'm Christine.
I'm Kat.
We're Booksplosion. Thanks for watching. Bye.